the discrepancy in the numbers that you probably.
You're on there? All right. It being 7 o'clock, I'm going to call a special public hearing for the, I'm sorry, I'm not with it tonight. I'm calling the meeting to order. I'm going to have Eric speak on behalf of myself just because I'm still recovering, but this is in regards to the water district and where we're at with this. So I'll let you take it from there.
All right. So this is the meeting, the public hearing on the special district meeting coming up on October 24th at 7 p.m. at the Winnisquam Regional High School.
Yes.
And this is the warrant article. I'll just read that so that we get it in the recording. That's not you too.
Okay.
And this is warrant article SP1, pressurized hydrants, to see if the district will vote to authorize the commissioners to come current through June 30th, 2022, and enter into a 3-year agreement beginning July 1st, 2022, and ending June 30th, 2025, in the amount of $523,322 for the purpose of providing pressurized hydrant services necessary for fire suppression, and raise an appropriate $256,000 for this year, with said funds to come from the December 31st, 2021 unassigned fund balance. This article is recommended by the Board of Commissioners and is not recommended by the Budget Committee. Majority vote required. We'll go to the next slide, I guess.
Yeah, let's break it down.
Yeah, so this is a slide. Basically, it explains, or it shows what the agreement that we came to with the water district would be. This is our known cost on the left-hand side. So the total of that would be the $523,322. If it's not approved at the special district meeting, so this is a known cost. And on the high side, if we go to court, based on their tariffs and their current tariff schedule of the water department, we're looking at slightly over $1 million, $1,011,168, because they're going to base everything on their current tariff schedule. Thank you. Their current tariff schedule, which has gone up. And so that is, in a nutshell, where we are at this point. So I guess we'll entertain,
Open it up to questions, I
open
guess.
up any questions from the public.
Can you just start on the left and go down the
Go left side here?
agreement? Sure.
Sure.
And where the numbers came from as well, please.
Sure. So the top number from January 1st, 2021 to July 1st, 2022, $130,000, that was a negotiated amount. I believe the amount that we owe was significantly higher than that, based on...
Right here. That's what we owe at that point in time.
But that's only for 1 year. That
That's for a year and a half.
For a year and a half.
Right. So this $130,000 is for a year and a half back pay, going back to January 1st, 2021. As part of our mediation negotiation session back in June, I think it was, we came up with an agreement that would be for 3 years. And basically, it starts at $126,000 and then it goes up approximately 4%. I think it's 4% exactly each year after that. So $126,000 is the first year, $131,000 the second year, and the third year would be $136,282.
Where did those numbers come from, the 126? That seems to be the baseline for future. Where did the 126 come from?
It was our end number from our last agreement, approximate end number of our last agreement.
Before we went into the last contract, I believe that's what it was.
1.5998 or something.
Right.
Correct.
So when you say contract, are you talking about the hydrant fees? What contract are you talking about?
So,
That's vague.
correct. Okay, so 2021.
So in 2020, we had an agreement, there was a, I don't know if I remember off the top of my head right now if it was a multi-year agreement, but as of December 31st, actually as of January 1st, 2021, we had no agreement with the water district.
Right.
Because at the 2021 district meeting, it was not approved. It was
The hydrant fees were
the
not,
hydrant fees were not approved.
okay?
So, since that date, we've been in arrears to the water district. The water district has done several things along the way where we've had to go to court. They took hydrants out of service. They started bagging them, putting them out of service, and we received an injunction to prevent them from doing that.
Did you win that injunction?
Yes.
Yes.
So they had unbagged, I think they had, what, about a dozen they had bagged at that point?
No, it was over 20-something.
20, okay. So they,
Which is what, about 20% of their hydrants they took out of service?
So on a Thursday evening, they shut the water off to the Park Street Fire Station and to the fire hydrant in front of the Park Street Fire Station. That's so on Friday, I went to our lawyer and went to court to prepare documents. During that whole day Friday while I was preparing documents, they shut off all the hydrants like in downtown Tilton, all the way down West Main Street.
So the whole village,
Yes.
essentially the whole village?
Up School Street, Cedar Street, down Park Street.
The school system, the high school was
That's correct.
correct.
The
Was that affected by
pressurized,
that?
the hydrants,
So you
not
took
the
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 hydrants.
hydrants?
yeah, not the buildings, just the hydrants.
Just back the hydrants.
So if there was a fire, they would,
They would have been inactive. So we currently have how many hydrants?
254?
no, 100,
No.
104?
104.
How many actually work according to the gallons per minute?
Well, they all have a certain gallonage. They're all
I know,
different.
but in the past, they painted them and said, orange doesn't meet it, yellow does, green does it.
So all the colors just mean something. If it's just red, that means it's 500 gallons or less. If it's blue, it's 1,000 gallons. If it's blue is 1,500, green is 1,000.
And what is the NFPA, is that right, NFPA guideline? We want how many what is it?
The bare minimum is 500 gallons per minute for it to be effective.
And do we still have an annual testing of that, so we know how many are meeting the NFPA guidelines?
So the water district does the testing, and they usually give us the results of that, but not lately.
Not this
So
year.
it's still not transparent to this, okay, thank you.
Ma'am?
My question, again, Peggy LeBrecq, of the 126, how did you arrive at that figure between the water district and the fire district? Is it a flat fee? Is it that they promised to have so many hydrants at such a cost? You know, I hate magical numbers that just appear. You know, so if they could say to us, we're going to guarantee that the fire district is going to have X amount of hydrants that produce over 500 per the NFPA rules and regulations, and this is going to be the figure to keep that. I don't know. Help me understand.
How many hydrants do we have? It was 105 or?
104.
It's 104.
104 hydrants.
Okay, so we have 104 hydrants in the district.
Those are public hydrants. There are private hydrants beyond that.
That's not part of this thing.
But that's not part of our agreement. The 126, I believe, is basically, that's where we left off at in our previous agreement. The previous agreement that we had was a 5-year agreement, and each year we paid $125,998.88. And during negotiations and the mediation, we just rounded it to 126 because it was just easy to say,
Sure.
to be honest with you.
How did they arrive at this figure, though?
So that happened before I arrived, and because there was an agreement in place before that, and from what I understand is they took all the fire hydrants that were usable at the time, which was less than 100, it was like 90-something, that were usable, and divided what they thought their cost of operating those hydrants were, and came up to that 125.
They were supposed to do an annual evaluation on these hydrants because Because I push for that, I'm
Well,
not gonna lie,
I
I
do
push for
believe
that.
they still do that.
And they were supposed
keep-
to share that with you because according to being a good business and charging your customers, I'm not paying for a hydrant that doesn't meet the bare minimum. And do we have proof as a customer service saying, you know what, you're paying for this and it works? Do we have that? Have we been getting that in
We
recent
used to
years?
get it in the last couple of years. I don't believe we've received any information from the water
So
district.
how can they charge us if we
Legal
have no
action.
proof of what we're
We
paying
haven't
for?
been paying our bill, so.
Sorry.
Okay, so I'm all right with that. Okay, understand that I'm all right with that, but, so no one on the board right now knows how they calculate, how the water district calculates how they charge the fire district for the hydrants.
So the water district did a study of their hydrants. They actually, in the study, it would be a lot higher than where we're at right now. So when we went to negotiations, that was part of it. They
What
were
would be higher, the gallons of water coming out the hydrant?
170 or,
The fee per hydrant would be higher according to their, they hired a consultant to come up with the cost of what everything cost. And that's what they came up. And that study is available online if you want to look at
Online
it.
at the fire district or the water
The
district?
water district.
They have an actual website now that,
Well,
because, I'm telling you, they didn't have it in the past, so I don't look for it, because,
We'll come back to this, Greg.
okay, thank you. All right.
so we had Jason over here as the next one.
All right, so Jason Ryan Tilt, I'm a water customer and I pay a connection fee and then I pay based on what I use. How much water is guaranteed or allowed for $130,000 a year? And if they fail to provide that amount of water, is there a rebate? Or if we need more than that certain amount, is there an upcharge? Because I pay as a water customer for what I use, and other businesses pay for what they use. And we as a fire district don't pay for what I use. We pay a flat rate. We're paying for the airport whether we take a flight or not. So I'm curious, how much do we get? How much is guaranteed? And if not delivered, what is rebated back to the fire district? Or if the district uses too much, what's the upcharge?
So the agreement is unlimited use during an emergency up to the capacity of them to provide water.
So, for example, Chief, if you're downtown and the hydrant just goes dry, then what?
So when we have a fire of any significant nature where we're using hydrant service, a representative from the water district comes and stands nearby,
Yeah.
and he can monitor the system through his phone,
Right.
and he'll let me know, say like, you got, they can turn on extra pumps to boost pressure and stuff like that, but then he'll look at the reservoir level and he'll say, you got like another half hour of water at this capacity that you're flowing now, then I'm gonna have to shut you down, or
Yeah.
you're gonna have to reduce the amount of water you're using. So that in the morning, people will be able to take showers and flush the toilet and stuff.
Now,
like
if
that.
they come out during an event, what is the charge for do they charge an hourly rate for that? No off hours, no any of that stuff?
No.
Because we saw a memo about training and
So
things.
if we were to do,
Yeah.
in the new agreement, if we do training on off-duty hours for the water company, they want a representative on scene all the time while we're training with one of their fire
And that's
hydrants.
where that's
And
where
that's
the
where
rate
the,
is.
we would have to pay their personnel overtime, say if we trained on the weekend, or after 4 o'clock or 4:30, whenever those guys get out of work.
Yep.
All right, Paul, and then I'll,
I'd like to maybe, hopefully explain, with respect to Gretchen's question about where did this 125 number come from? Because it's always been some mystical, magical number that nobody can put their finger on. How did we arrive at it?
Yep.
And if you look at the engine, and honestly, it's amazing to me that a representative from the water district will show up at a fire, but they won't show up
Meeting?
here.
No, no one's representing.
So that to me speaks volumes. But I did a little bit of investigating. I did review that report that the water district had, the engineering report. And if you look at the value that they placed on the hydrants, after we were paying the $125,900 per year, the value that they placed on it in the report at a later date was exactly 3 times that amount to the dollar. So all the engineering firm did was exactly backtrack. They took what we were paying and said, every 3 years, this is what that value is. And based upon the number of hydrants at that time, okay? So their value per hydrant was actually backdoored based upon what we happened to be paying at that time. So even, I mean, we can talk till we're blue in the face about this engineering report that the water district did. It's bogus. It's bogus. They did not determine what the value was and pass that to us. They backdoored the previous contract and said, this is what each hydrant value is.
What I can tell you from my personal experience, being on the budget committee when it initiated with the fire district, I was trying to figure out, remember in the olden days, I was trying to figure out where they got this figure from, and they kept on saying PUC. PUC. Well, PUC is the State of New Hampshire Public Utilities Commission. Does not oversee the Tilton Northfield Aqueduct. Created a meeting with PUC employees who did not want to have that meeting. At the time, Bob Watson, am I saying that right? Bob Watson came to the meeting, and he sat in the meeting, and from what was hard to pull from the PUC staff at this meeting is they were giving guidance to the water district when they were going through the purchase and sales agreement, and they were wondering how they're going to fund their loan, their multi-million-dollar loan. And guidance was given, well, hydrant fee. So they initiated a fee annually sent to us. Their fee was 10% of their budget, which took over 10% of our budget. You can check your records because I did the spreadsheet. PUC did not tell them to do this because they had no oversight and no grounds. They can't oversee because it's a municipality. But they were the water district was looking for guidance, and they suggested this, that, and the other thing. So they pulled a number, and I've never been given a clear answer on that. I would suggest that maybe possibly someone from the water district could come to our meeting, because that should be addressed, how they specifically come to this number, because they have never been able to exactly define how they arrive at that fee.
I can add to that.
Okay, actually Jane, and then I'll come to Jason.
No, when you put that up, the implication was that if we don't go with their agreement, these are what the fees are.
So,
That, it's my understanding, if we go to court, they are going to say, these are what the fees should be because this is what the tariff is. That does not mean that the judge or a jury, whichever it is, will say that's what it's going to be. I just wanted to clarify that.
Right.
Because to look there and say, oh my God, if we don't do this, this is what's going to happen. That's worst case scenario.
correct. So
Okay,
essentially,
just wanted to
what
clarify
we
that.
have on this side is a known value. If it was voted yes, this is a known value to the taxpayers.
Oh, that's a known cost.
It's a
not
known
value.
cost. A known cost.
Big difference.
That's a good point.
Thank you, yes, a
I
known
don't see the
cost.
word value anywhere in there.
Okay, no, thank you for that clarification. This side here is if we went to court and lost, this is what you're potentially looking at.
Not
Now-
necessarily, but worst case, that's what it is.
Correct, worst case. But if you also, the other option of this is if you voted no on this side and went to court and you won it, then that would change it around. The judge could come up with different ratings and things like that. So it could be a lot less than that, but potentially it could be that. So this is a known cost, thank you, if people in the public vote yes. If they vote no next meeting, it will go to court and we will follow through with what it is, and then that will come out how the courts work it out.
before it goes to court, there has to be another mediation session. Just,
Who's on the mediation?
Jason's
the commission, board of commissioners of both sides. Of
That's
both
it? Okay,
departments,
go
yeah.
ahead, sorry.
I'm gonna go
And
back
they
to
got
Jason.
nowhere
and-
last time.
Okay, okay,
I think to pick up on that
Okay.
history of the rate, there was some 20, well, however many years ago it was, a per hydrant fee. And that's what got us into the tailspin of color coding, because we found out after a year or two that not all hydrants were created equal. So it wasn't, boom, take the number of hydrants, and it was a lot less than, it might have been only 60 hydrants back then, times the rate, and they said, well, this is it. And now, and we evolved away from that quickly, because the hydrants all flowed at different rates, or some were defective, it didn't work at all. But I think this is an all-in-all inclusive, that the district or the water company can still add hydrants, and the fee stays the same as they continue to add hydrants. I still don't support the number, because I can't figure out where the original number came from, and neither could anybody else at that time. But it went from being a per, taking the number of hydrants times the fee, towards just a collective system fee. But then there was an argument about, wow, they put all this pipe in the ground and they did all this stuff. And we were trying to do some rough math of how many millions of dollars the fire district has paid to the water district that should at least have covered that infrastructure.
But then they have grant money that's being granted to them too.
Right, so,
So-
you know, you know, one of the things we talked about at this year's budget committee level is, why aren't we just, like everybody else, a connection fee and a usage? Can they meter the hydrant? Can they meter the truck? Can they, you know, say, hey, it's about this many CFM or this many gallons times this amount of time, and whoosh, here's your tap, you know, at least estimate you used about this much water. And in some instances, the hydrants aren't used because they bring water to the event in the trucks, or they draw from a river or dry.
They have dry hydrant, yeah.
So
There is a drawback to that though, you know.
right.
Because what's gonna happen is, they need that money to operate. That's not our problem. No, so what's gonna happen, it's gonna be passed on to the rate users.
That's who should be paying.
Because I gotta tell you, if my house was burning and there was a bag over the hydrant in front of my house, I don't live in the district. I'm just saying, if my house was burning and they had a cover over it, you wouldn't need a megaphone for me.
I'm okay with spending 500,000 or $1 million, but I want to own our stuff. I want to own cisterns. I want to own tanks. I want to own a tanker. I want to own something. I don't want to give away $1 million and have nothing to show for it, other than the promise of hopefully some water. I'd rather we own and build our own stuff. Right?
well, Pat, it's your turn.
Well, I'm going to take off on something that Jason had said, that metering, we were all forced as users, as a water user, and keep in mind, we're going to pay for this twice. We're going to pay for it in the water district, and we're going to pay for it as a water user. So we get double whammy if we're a user.
I agree.
And that's fine with me, because I have a 180-year-old house, and I was one of the ones that the hydrant got shut off, and that was not a pleasant feeling, because our insurance rates go sky high.
Yeah.
And we were forced, because we have an old house, to change our meters. We were forced to eat the cost of the meters, the water meters, and we were forced for the plumbing cost to have them all plumbed in. The same thing should be negotiated with the water company, to have them metered and pay actual cost for the water that you use. There's going to be sometimes that in an area that you may never use. Then there are sometimes you may use it 2 or 3 times a year, maybe. But that cost of $523,000 actual cost may go down significantly if you're not using the water. You know, our neighbors use a lot less water than we do. Our bill is around $80. Theirs is around $40. You know, I can live with that because I use it. But they forced us. They didn't say, you know, this is up to you, you use a different meter. They literally came out and forced us to change, and at our cost. So what they're doing to their own users, they should be negotiated in the next time you do mediation? Or have you talked about that? That's my question. Have you talked about metering?
We brought up water usage in the mediation.
And what did they talk about metering? Can you discuss that?
They weren't too agreeable to metering water usage. We fought over just water usage of the station. Part of the problem, and one of the things we dealt with this, is that the hydrants, the reason that there is action taken against us right now is that the hydrants are part of the Park Street water domestic system. So instead of us, the district, having a Center Street water supply, a Park Street water supply, and a hydrant water supply, it was tied into the Park Street. So that's what they have been using as a leverage against us for a bit, because you didn't pay your water supply to your Park Street because it's tied into the hydrant. So this is all that we've been fighting, or we've been discussing through courts and all that. Absolutely agree with you that we can tell how much water we use at the fires. I mean, 2 years ago, I believe we had 2 fires we actually used hydrants.
The last 2 fires that we used the hydrant was on Business Park Drive, which we used about 5,000 gallons, and then on Elm Street, maybe 20,000 gallons.
So what would that equate to in money with the water company here? What would to
It's like
take?
$5 and something.
$6.50 based on 130,000.
For residents, I think it's like $5 and some change
Per
for
gallon?
one, per.
Cubic feet. they're all-
Cubic feet,
Measuring
right.
cubic feet,
Right.
if you can convert that.
Yeah.
Nowhere near what that
It's
is.
about 7 gallons per cubic foot of water.
Okay, Kevin first, and then Gretchen, and then Jane.
So, there's so much to say in so little time, right? This agreement
Yes.
is the best you could do.
Yeah, that day, yeah, and no one came out of there happy.
We can use the hydrant for training, but not more than 4 times a year. And when the call company trains on Monday night, or if there's a weekend training, they're gonna poke us some more money to have one of their guards on duty.
Yep.
The last thing under training,
I don't want
the last thing under training,
training, yep,
to be determined,
the gallons per minute.
which means it's not, you don't know. Why would you agree to something you don't know? That slide right there, every number on that slide is pie in the sky. The water district is either unwilling or unable to quantify any of those numbers. And I personally feel that the right side of that slide should not be shown. That is fearful,
Okay.
because pay 500, oh, you're gonna get back $1 million.
Okay.
So I hope to hell this goes to court, because it should have been in court 20 years ago. The water district has robbed us since day one. When it was a private company, they robbed us. When it became a public entity, if that's what it is, they still robbed us.
It's still
We
a
paid
private
them
entity.
millions and millions of dollars over the years, and they just keep right. At some point, we own something. We paid enough for something. So
So
when
luckily,
you went into this negotiation, were you willing to just walk away and say, because when you go in, if you're not willing to walk away, because, I mean, I wasn't there, so I can't say what went on, but it looks like they said, this is our game, this is our ball.
there was a lot of meeting in the middle.
I-
No one walked out of there happy, I can tell you that much. I can tell you, was not happy with the outcome of it.
And as far as people being concerned about insurance rates, I get it. I believe it's ISO.
ISO,
So-
your ISO rating.
Okay. Insurance rates, most likely, would go up some. Are they gonna go up $523,000? I would bet that much money they won't. So I have an issue with, I think that has some fear factor.
Okay.
Now, relative to the article, the way it's written, I also take exception to it.
Okay. Can you go back up, please?
Well, that's the way.
That's what we had to submit through.
Through DRA and the attorney.
Well, if DRA approved that, they're worse than I thought they are. So, to see if the district will authorize the commissioners to come current. What does come current mean?
To bring us up to June, at the time, it was June 30th of 2022 in arrears.
Okay, we're not in arrears, because we have no agreement to be in arrears on.
Correct. And that
They
is
can
where the
send you all
commission,
the bills they want, that does not mean you're in arrears.
so that's where the commissioners stand on this. If you remember back in, I believe it was 2021, when we put the new contract before the public, we made sure we had a clause in there saying that it had to be approved by the public.
Right, and it wasn't.
Correct, but I made sure that that clause was in there so that we didn't keep going forward with the, and it was not, it missed by one vote, and it was not. So correct, in our opinion, we do not have that contract. And the process of being taken to court and all that, it's all based on who's going to decide that matter. A court can say, well, this has been established policy thing. I understand contract and you're saying it's not in black and white. But what does the court of the day say when you get there? That's where we're at. That's why we are going through all this processes. We are not the ones taking them to court. They have been taking us to court. We went to mediation. Since mediation, they have hit us with RSA 91s, our 91As. They have requested information. So even though we thought we came to an agreement and we were going to submit that to a court for binding approval, they're still building a case against us. So it is a very one-way thought process on this. At least that's how unless you guys disagree, I don't want to speak for everyone.
We're not in arrears, we're just not. Because there's nothing, and the voters said no once.
Yes, they did.
So that is off the table. Or damn well
They
should
kind of
be.
said no twice.
Yeah.
Then it's, so the other thing I don't like about the way that is written,
Okay.
and you can change how that's written here tonight.
No, it's posted.
It would have to be amended at the
It would have
meeting,
to be
right?
amended at
It would
the
have to be
meeting.
amended because of how it's.
So the way that's written, it's both leading and misleading.
Okay.
It's leading because you use the words providing pressurized hydrant services necessary for fire suppression. The definition of necessary is required to be done or achieved. You can suppress fire without hydrants. It's done every day in more of the country than not.
Okay.
So, that creates, or can create a bias, because this is your warrant article. So, that's telling me you think fire hydrants are necessary for fire suppression, and we know that's not true. It's just not. It's a hell of a convenience. It's not necessary to get the job.
It's, well, fire hydrants provide us a better means of, and more efficient means,
Correct.
pressurized fire hydrants of putting out a fire, especially where fire hydrants are available. A more efficient constant water flow than trying to, set up a draft somewhere or a cistern, taking water out of a cistern. Pressurized fire hydrant is the king of where you want to be when you're fighting a structure fire.
That's ideal.
So, to your point, an amendment could be made at the public hearing to remove the word necessary.
And make it adequate or sufficient or capable.
Just don't have.
Right. What, at the special meeting?
Yeah,
October 24th.
No.
No, that's what I'm saying, is that at the special meeting on the 24th, an amendment to this could be to remove the necessary, absolutely. So that is a fix of that it can't be done tonight, but it can be done then, which is fair. If that's what the public wants, then I think it has to be in writing too.
It has to be in
Yeah.
writing.
So if someone has that in writing
Signed.
and signed, that is an adjustment that can be made to address that matter.
That would be just an amendment,
Yep.
like any other amendment.
So
For that one.
with the $130,000, money that we don't know,
Okay. For
and the
the
20,000 gallons that we use, $6.50 a gallon. We're not talking about diesel fuel, or home heating oil, or gasoline, or jet fuel. We're talking about water. $6.50 a gallon. I don't know who that makes any sense.
No, that's right. Okay, I did, who?
Jane, have Jane talk, she had.
Jane was, okay, thank you, I lost track, sorry.
What bothers me is that you said, John, this is where we're at. Where we're at is about 15 or 16 years ago. We're exactly at the same place we were. And I think, Paul, you were on the board at the time when Tom Glant came up with this wonderful idea that we're going to, he didn't use these terms, but we're going to give the people what they want. So we're going to tell them they're going to only pay so much for a 5-year contract. This is the way it's going to be. And this is a wonderful, great thing. In essence, we were paying the same amount. It was just over 5 years, so it didn't look as bad. Okay? But we're at the same place. We are no better off. Now, 2 years ago, the Budget Committee said no more. We're not going to okay this line on the budget for fire hydrants because we don't know what this number represents. We still don't know. That's 2 years later. All we've done is waste 2 years. Commissioners have spent a lot of time in mediation, and the water company is still playing games. They're still not telling us what it costs them. They put meters at Park Street, is that correct?
New meters, yes.
New meters and
Okay.
both fire stations.
What did those meters show them? Were you using as much as you were being paid, you were being charged
We haven't
for?
received a bill on those new meters yet.
You've never seen the bill on that?
We haven't gotten one yet. For
domestic.
We get domestic
Okay.
bills, but the amount of water that has gone through the fill lines, the lines that we use to fill the fire trucks, we have not received a bill on
Why have
those,
you not?
other than the meter charge,
They only charge quarterly.
because they just were put in, so
Okay.
we haven't
All
really.
right, all right. But my point again is that we're no better off. We're exactly the same way. So you're gonna go before the voters on Monday, and you're gonna present them with something they've seen a dozen times that they've said no to. I don't understand why we've wasted this amount of time.
Because we're obligated to, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
But you went to court once, nothing came out of mediation. That's what bothers me. Nothing.
Well, this
It's the
is
same,
theoretical
basically the
agreement
same
to not
thing.
mediation.
Well, what came out of mediation,
Yeah, absolutely.
the water district, that $130,000 was like 180.
Instead of 231,
It was much higher than that. We started
What money that you owed because we had.
at a lower number. We started, I can't remember the number.
115 and then we started 115.
Yeah, a bit more than that, I think.
Yeah.
75.
75 we started.
Yeah, we started at 75,000.
Where did that number come from?
I picked it out of the air.
Just
No,
like they
what-
did.
that's
Just
what,
like they
it
did.
seems like all the numbers are just being picked out of the air. Not by us, but by the fire district. I mean, by the water district.
Keep in mind when we're in mediation, we're not sitting across the table.
I know what
Where
mediation is, I've been through it.
They're
many times.
downstairs, we're upstairs, and. there's a
You're not even in
mediator.
the same room?
No.
No.
There's a mediator that runs up and down between the two.
you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's weird.
Oh, the one mediation that I went to was employment, so everybody's in the same room.
They could've.
Alright,
That's what mediation's all about.
Yeah,
That's weird.
okay.
face to face isn't mediation.
Paul?
I didn't want to step in front of Rick.
Go ahead, it's all right.
Right, so let's just assume something, that the agreement on the left is going to fail, okay? And we go back to mediation. Is there anything that dictates that you three gentlemen are on the mediation board? Or can there be additional people with the interests of the fire district be advisors, or not necessarily displacing you gentlemen, but augmenting you in this mediation process, such that we can bring up things like historical information, like Jason has, such that
That would be a question that we'd have to ask of legal. I
Do
think,
you have legal counsel with you during this mediation?
yes.
Yes.
Well, I wasn't sure. I
Yeah.
didn't want to assume.
No, there is quite a bit.
That's our office for them.
That's in the
Because-
budget.
I think it's,
Thank you.
That legal that used to be this is now this.
It is what it is.
Back to Paul, that is a good question to ask about resources,
I
experience.
think it's
resources.
excruciatingly important to get that perspective, okay? I understand what you guys want. You want an agreement, okay? We want to put this behind us. What the taxpayers are looking for, I think, is a long-term solution, not get us past, up to 2025.
A 3-year Band-Aid.
Exactly, which is a Band-Aid over a Band-Aid over a Band-Aid. They're stacked up half an inch thick now. So that, I would appreciate if you guys could find out if you can have other experts
Yeah.
with the fire department, with the fire district's goals and intentions, such that, because all we're seeing here is a water district is digging their heels in, same as they did last year, same as they did the year before. They're not going to change, okay? So what we have to do is present something that legally has some significance.
Yep.
And when you take historical trending like this, it's important, okay? Unfortunately, precedent may not be in our favor here because we have agreed to this in the past. But
I think that's what they're holding out for, is that they think through precedents that they'll be covered in court, because a lot of the other things.
okay, the important thing is where was that? What was the foundation of that original agreement? Okay, and if that was based upon false pretenses, then the precedent is now no longer as
No valid.
Not valid.
yes. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll go with Scott. I'm sorry, I'm
No,
trying to keep track.
It's all right.
So
I'm not going anywhere.
I'm not part of the water district, thank God. I have a well. But does the water district have public meetings?
Yes.
Can we, even though I'm not on
No.
so but this is part of,
Yes,
no,
you
no.
can.
You can.
Yes, you
Yeah.
can.
You can't vote,
Well,
but
for a
you
second,
can
yes.
attend and
You
speak.
can
Can I
attend,
speak?
you can
Yeah.
hold
You can
the-
ask
Well,
to
they wouldn't let me.
speak, the body votes,
There
the
you go.
legislative body can vote to allow
Correct.
a non-voter to speak.
Correct, just
Correct.
like
Or
an
to
annual meeting.
disallow.
Correct.
Right.
They
Or
wouldn't let me
disallow.
speak.
Yes.
so my point is, it sounds like tonight is that the main issue is the water district.
Well, they're the ones.
Exactly.
So why can't the voters of both towns, knowing that this is going down the pipe, go and bitch and complain?
So,
Because they don't.
That drives me nuts.
This is an existential decision for the water district. It's not for the fire district. If the water district does not get this money, they have to go out and borrow it.
bond it or whatever they have to do.
Or
And they have to
increase
take
their
projects.
rates.
So this is, to them, this is crucial. This is
Right.
This is your
existential.
bread and butter.
Exactly.
Correct.
But you know, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, yeah.
I'm sorry, I really don't want to I am going to take offense to what Scott is saying. This is not only on the onus of the Tilton Northfield Water District. Yes, we tonight don't agree with what they're doing. I've been a selectman almost 15 years. Catherine's been longer than me. This has been going on for years and years and years. I truly believe that this is a communication. This subject is not new to any of us. Even 15 years ago, 20 years ago when I came to town meetings. This is a communication on both sides, not just the water district. This was way back.
I can remember when it was 65,000 that hydrants.
Way back when the commissioners should have put their feet down. We have commissioners now that are putting their feet down and at least getting to a point where we're going to court and we're doing something about it because the voters put their foot down and said no, and they voted no. Well, now you have to do something about it because they stopped it. And now you know, your hands are behind your back here and you have to do something about it. But for a long time, the fire commissioners did nothing. They just said, oh no, this is what we need. This is what we have. This is what
We have to have it.
We have to have it. We have to do it. We have to do it.
Just
And
pay it.
so it was a communication thing. So the onus is not only on the water district.
Paul?
Well, I totally agree, Pat, that there has to be communication. And where's the other side of this discussion? Do you see anyone here tonight?
You know, did anyone invite them?
Yes.
They don't have to be
I
invited.
emailed the public notices to the water district and requested that they shared that with their board of commissioners.
This shows me that they don't want to communicate or help. They want to dig their heels in.
They only have 2 commissioners now, right?
So can I just make a couple quick things?
Kate, were you going, I'm sorry, your name? You want, okay, then
A
yes.
couple quick things, because seeing that we have a lot of historical selectmen and stuff, yes or no, when the water district was being sold from the Money family to the municipality, everybody thought the hydrant fee would go. Because that's what was said to me at the district meeting, at the town meeting, great, now we don't have to have hydrants, and everybody said, yep, they can buy it. I was in Northfield, is that how they felt in Tilton? Can you?
I don't know. I wasn't
You don't remember
This
that?
is, we were fed the formula that, oh no, we're gonna own it and we're gonna pay it off and our rates are gonna go down.
Right.
And guess what?
That's exactly
The water district hired a consultant that said, no, just put everything up 4% a year.
Right.
So that's what everybody's
Okay, so
bill
my
is.
next
As a
thing.
sewer commissioner,
Yeah.
we're a customer because we buy the meter readings. On the sewer commission, all we do is we buy a piece of paper, meter readings, because Tilton Sewer is billed off of water usage.
Correct.
And even that piece of paper goes up 4% a year, because they can, because they said so, because they want to. It's like when you're a kid and your father says, don't do that, why? Because I said so. Well, why? Because we said so, we voted it, and therefore it's reality. That's our tariff. We
So my
voted
next
it,
thing
and-
is,
Right, the sewer rates don't go up 4% a year.
No, because the sewer commissioners
Oh,
do their
Well,
own
no,
thing.
because but it's based on usage, not how much your bill
It's
is.
based on cubic feet, not on your bill amount.
Right.
Based on cubic feet.
But your
And we've held the line for
usage isn't
forever.
going up 4% a year.
They were told by their consultant, they hired the consultant that says nationally things are going up on an average of 4% a year, so you would be smart to just build that into your rate schedule, to go up 4% a year.
No.
That was from Raft Ellis.
No,
And I was the only member of the public that attended the public hearing on the rate study, I'm here to tell you. So I sat in a room like this, nobody else, when I heard that, and that was, we still got the report, and the Raft Ellis did, 4%. So that's their magic number for anything, whether it's meter readings, hydrants, water, sprinkler, everything, it's 4%.
so it was brought up earlier.
Yeah.
So I was on the website quickly because, you know, I'm trying to pay attention. They bought it in 2005. Have we put pen to paper to say how much the fire district has paid to the water district for hydrants since 2005? Okay, well, I'll get that number to you. Okay? So what are we buying? We have no idea.
No, we don't.
We have no idea. We're buying water,
We're buying
How about
availability of
costing?
water. is
the
all we're
availability
buying.
of water.
You're buying an insurance policy.
Okay, so my insurance policy, I'm not gonna buy it from you know, Rich and Wilder Insurance Company, they just started last week, I'm gonna go to State Farm or National.
You can't.
We should be doing the same. This is why I brought up the hydrants, because there was something that came up at one of the commissioners' meeting. There was a fire, they opened up the hydrant, and moths came out, and I was like, PUC said, well, that's a customer service issue, because I was at that meeting, and I said, why are we paying, we're paying for hydrants that don't work. He goes, well, that sounds like a customer service issue. So that's when I forced, I want to know what's coming out. You open up that hydrant, I want to know what the gallons per, they had to go out and buy a meter. So that's when they started painting them, and everybody said, how come the hydrants are different colors? I said, because some are not adequate and some are. So we don't get that report. That is, I mean, you know what? I get a binder with my insurance that says, this is what's covered. You have an accident, this is what's covered. Your car is worth this. Your house is worth this. You have replacement value, whatever. We're getting a bill. We're getting a bill. So the other thing is, so we have no idea what we've spent in the last 5 years. And there was something Kevin was saying during his. So yes, the water district does not seem to answer, or I'm sure they feel like that we're going to beat up on them tonight. I'm sure.
I'm sure too.
Yeah. I have gone to meetings. The other thing is, on the meetings real quick, because I'm not a water district customer, I have a well. I have gone to meetings, and I go to them, when we talk meetings, people be specific. I've gone to monthly meetings, because anybody can attend those. Doesn't matter if you're a user or not. The district, the annual district meeting, if you go to those and you're not a water district person, because supposedly, and they can't even answer that might be something for clarification. That's come up on a number of occasions. Who is allowed to go to the meeting? The person who owns the house and owns the house?
Just as Catherine said, anyone can attend, because I went.
No, in vote. I'm talking about go to the meeting and vote.
Only a voter.
Only a user.
User.
A residential user.
So the
Like if
person
somebody
owns the
lives
house?
in the apartment, the landlord that pays the bill, but the tenant that lives there is a user.
Right.
And they are the ones who get the
They
vote.
can vote.
Correct.
If you're a registered voter in the town.
Yes, you
Okay.
did, 'cause I told you that.
Okay, so just to let you know, that has not been the precedent in 1 or 2 of the meetings. So the precedent has been set,
Yeah.
that they have allowed landlords to go in, homeowners.
It's a legal, it's not a precedent of who they allow, it's what's legally allowed.
Right.
Well,
And
Well,
I don't
what
know
I'm
what the
saying to
exact
you
answer
is-
is off the top of my head, but it's
When
certainly reasonable.
someone, and I'm not picking on anyone in particular, and they say, that's not legal, I would strongly advise anybody in this room to make sure you go to the RSAs and find out if they know what they're talking about, because a lot of times, the RSAs are changing,
Frequently.
and they're being updated, even right to know.
Yep.
It's constantly being made more current and time relevant. So they're not here. I would strongly suggest they show up at the meeting. You know what? And I'll reach out to them. I have no problem reaching out to them, because if they're not at that meeting, I feel like they have no interest in this.
Well, I can tell you that the year that it failed by 1 vote. 3 water commissioners did not show up.
You know what?
Just putting it out there.
We know. You know what? That's the thing. So, you know what? To be a good consumer, I don't spend money on something unless I do research on it. And I'm not going to go to Market Basket and buy milk and buy a half-empty container and pay full price. You know what?
Absolutely.
But this is what they're asking us to buy something, and I feel like the water district is the wizard behind the curtain. All powerful. Well, guess what?
Well, to your point is at these water district meetings, the voters don't call any of these shots.
Yeah.
We don't vote
How
on
many
this
people go to
stuff.
those meetings?
I went to
About
a meeting
this
with
many.
16.
Of the whole water district, there's less than 10
About
voters.
this is what votes.
Less than 10 voters.
Yeah,
The
and
meeting
it's,
I went
I've
to,
been to every
16
meeting for
people.
the past 16 years. And let me
There's
tell
no
you,
one. I walked in one of those
people.
meetings, and
But they can vote.
But they don't turn the knobs and throw the switches because the water
No.
company is hidden.
That's
You
behind,
can't
behind the curtain.
You can't 91A the water company,
So
you
There's
can
two
only 91A the
companies,
water
right.
district.
The
There's
water
separated
company is a
systems.
private company owned by a special village district.
Correct.
So the only thing you're voting on is the special village district's budget,
Budget.
which is their bond, basically.
Correctly.
And
All the employees of the water district, you
Right.
would think they'd be municipal employees, they're not.
They're not.
They're private employees, they don't get a state
Yeah.
pension or anything like
And
that.
can anybody explain why?
It's a perfect storm.
Because when Ken Money sold it, they separated two companies. You can look at the sale. I think I have the original sale.
I know, I do.
But it's,
It's all owned by the district.
they're two separate companies. You can't even find out how
They
much
won't
you
show
have
you, they won't show you the books.
Nope.
They refuse.
They don't have to.
They're
All right.
not- they're a
Private
private
company.
company.
I
Yeah.
do want to come back, we just had a couple, so, because you asked to speak and you, Kevin, did you have something, or are you good at this?
Yes.
Okay,
So
just trying to stay on track with everyone.
I wish we had a more aggressive attorney than we do.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
More aggressive attorney,
Okay.
just chalk it
And when it goes to court, Belknap County. Belknap County jury pool.
Correct.
I lived in Belknap County for 40 years. And in the 20 years I lived there as an adult, I often felt I was on the Rolodex for jury. I got called for jury duty more than anyone else I know. And I sat on a whole bunch of cases. Every jury I sat on was made up. The vast majority were people who lived in the city of Laconia.
It's because of the percentage of people in Belknap County live in
Right.
Laconia, a higher percentage.
33% of your likely jurors would be from Laconia.
Okay, so, if a case is made to those jurors, mostly from Laconia, and anywhere else in Belknap County, and they see these numbers, they're gonna laugh the water district right out of the building.
Well, they're not gonna get it.
Because hopefully, our attorney will show them what everyone else in Belknap County pays. And hopefully, he asks the question, where is it written, just because the water district has something for sale, that we have to buy it? It's a free market economy.
If you want to know, since 2005, we paid the water district, rounding off, $2 million. It's the exact amount is $1,997,885.24
Since 2005?
since 2005.
Can you say one more time, Chief? I'm sorry.
$1,997,885.24
Since '05.
since '05.
And
Thank you for.
$2 million.
the last thing I want to say for now is that 5-year agreement, if it were to pass, it does something that I don't like to see happen. That is, it gets put in the budget.
Mhm.
It removes it from discussion.
Right.
And another thing to consider is, although I think all fire chiefs like water, our chief is going to retire before this agreement expires.
Good.
And another fire chief may like something different.
I was not part of the negotiation process. I
Oh, I
was
know.
just there as an
No,
advisor.
and I think that, I believe it was Paul, made a hell of a suggestion that, does it have to be you guys doing the negotiations?
That's something we are gonna look into to see resources for that.
Because the school board does it differently, right? They have a committee?
No, actually, when we did the mediation, it was representatives from the school board and then representatives from the Teachers Association.
Okay.
When I had to do, that's another situation when I had to deal with it.
Okay.
But there's a question to look into, so we do appreciate it. Pat, I think you were next.
I'm fine.
Oh, you're good. I'm just trying to keep track for everyone.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Oh,
I mean, just going based on what Mr. Walter said, is, or and Paul suggested, but doesn't mean that, like right before, that if we can't have anyone else at the mediation, doesn't mean that we can't get together and pick your brains,
pull that information in.
pull the meat off the carcass so that we can have some of that information written down somehow, so that we can have as many weapons as we can.
Did you guys ever query and sort data from other communities, from other vendors and what they charge and do not charge and what they get the services for their hydrant fee? Do we have that statistical data anywhere?
So, you have it?
I did it in a week.
Okay. So we tried doing that when this whole thing came down, because the water district did a study. I know. There was talk with them about, with the Public Utility Commission, PUC, others, and the only other regional thing like that, Pittsfield, was the only other setup like what they have here.
It was not high.
That's not like a Laconia, only Laconia or
So
things like that.
I'm talking Pennachuck, is it Pennachuck? Pennachuck or something? Pennachuck Water Company. What are the other vendors, people who are official, not municipalities?
Right.
What do those companies charge the communities? I mean, that would be, you know what, I'll reach out to PUC and ask if there's some statistical data. They must have it.
Well, what does Lockmere charge you?
Lockmere doesn't charge us anything, but they don't have any fire hydrants that are usable either.
Oh.
They have
Clean
2.5-inch flush out stations.
In the last couple of weeks, I've tried to do something, but the town of Guilford purchases, and I'm getting the numbers transposed in my head, so, but it was higher than what we pay per hydrant. So just throwing the number, I believe it's 26 or 28 hydrants that they purchase, pressurized hydrants from the Laconia Water Works. And I believe they pay approximately $48,000 or $52,000 for those 26 hydrants. So if you break it out, if you just do the simple math, it's higher than, when I figured it out, because I was on the computer and I just looked, it was a couple $100 higher per hydrant than
That's
what we're
through the city of Laconia?
So
Or is it
the
a
town of
company?
Guilford has,
Purchases.
like, I think it's 26 or 28,
Yeah.
it may be higher. And then they purchase from the Laconia Water Works. It's a line item budget, it's a line item in the fire department budget for the town of Guilford.
Just when they have some lines that cross into,
Oh, yeah.
tap into.
Oh, sure.
Just.
I don't know where those 26 hydrants are,
Yeah, it doesn't matter,
But-
but I'm just, yeah.
but that is,
Huh.
I didn't realize that they had, I know Guilford had hydrants, I just figured they had their own water, but then I dug a little further and it's Guilford purchasing from Laconia. Sorry, Laconia Water Works.
So it's worth asking them, so how did you come up with the 48,000? Where'd you get that number from? How did you assign value,
Do it.
you know?
That's another good information for us to take it when we
If
have.
you got the data, ask the people.
Well, they're
about
paying
it.
higher, so I don't know if I want them
Well,
to have
that's
to
what
say
they could say.
But know the value of their
How did they-
equation of it.
Yeah, how did they-
The water district should be telling us this. We shouldn't have to go research it. This should be falling right off their list. But,
It is.
or it should be
Because we
on
said
their
so.
website.
Because we voted it in, because it's our tariff.
So
We have the right to do that.
Okay.
All right, so Kevin, next.
The research I did back when I did it, although it included departments that have hydrant service from a municipally owned source, in a lot of cases, there is still a monetary
Yes.
exchange.
Line item.
And a fire chief in Laconia at one point, which I have a letter, made an agreement to remove the money in return for shoveling the hydrant. That's paraphrasing from a letter I haven't seen for years.
Yeah.
But I had that letter. And I said, although it's a municipal-owned entity, there is still a value, a real value. And as I remember, they did a pretty good job of explaining that value.
If you have that letter, gladly, if
And I
any
included,
resources, they'll take in.
I included departments in the Lake Regional Fire Association.
Okay.
And I actually sent an email within the last 2 weeks to Chief Goldman.
Okay.
And the response, I'm not sure he understood what I was asking, because the response I got didn't make any sense to me. And he indicated that to figure out who had hydrants, he'd have to look through thousands of run cards. It would seem to me that they should know they're like, you're the president.
Yes, I am.
So, is it known which towns have hydrants and which don't?
They don't, of course, they dispatch with 35 communities. So they don't know intimately what each community has, if it has a pressurized fire hydrant system, without pulling an address up on the screen, whether that area has pressurized hydrants available to them or not.
But that would be address specific, right?
Yes.
They don't know that, for instance, City of Laconia, we know they have hydrants.
So, yeah, he knows Laconia has water and Tilton Northfield has water, but he doesn't know where that water is.
Right.
I think there are other,
My question
like
was,
Alton, I know has a small pressurized,
right,
but,
and Meredith does,
yep.
Plymouth
So,
does. But my question was just what, not where it is in town, just what towns. And then what I did last time was I got that information from, I think it was the guy from Baltimore was the chief over there. And then I reached out to those individual towns and said, how many hydrants do you have, who's the provider, and how much does it cost? And then we were in the attic and they were maybe on the first floor as far as rates paid.
Okay.
So what's the next step, John?
So the next step is on the 24th, on the 24th, we meet at the high school cafeteria. And at that point, we'll be voting on yes or no. Do people want a yes to that or no with that? And then,
That's not accurate.
what do you mean?
Saying that, no to that, does not automatically get us there.
No, that gets you into the possibility of that or nothing based on court. So that does have to be explained again there.
Anywhere in the middle.
It could be somewhere between nothing because of court and you win everything, all the way up to potentially of that.
I would bet if the court were to find in favor of the water district, they would order meters,
Meter usage?
meter the use.
That's a potential.
And that's fine, I'll pay for what I use all day long.
Right. And then, Gretchen.
During your mediation, I assume you guys are discussing your back and forth with the water district. Are you bringing up comments like earlier this evening where you said there were no water commissioners at the previous fire district meeting? We had a public meeting tonight to discuss this. Nobody showed up.
Not germane to producing an agreement currently.
So-
They didn't, it was the mediator, who was a judge, said, that doesn't matter. We're here to come to an agreement. We come to an agreement or not. Information that the water commissioners didn't show up to a meeting, or they're charging you think they're charging you too much money, or anything, that means nothing. We're here to come to an agreement.
Okay.
Plain
So
and
we
simple.
have no contact with the water commissioners during this mediation. We speak to what we see for things. The judge then takes that information and goes down to their room and discusses it. This is where they're trying to, so they're trying to find that happy medium when they do it. So it's not
You can't sit in the same room?
Nope.
Is that not
No.
allowed?
as
No.
part of the mediation.
No.
And I don't even believe all three commissioners were there from the water
So
company.
they only have two.
Then we have.
Then we have two.
Two.
They only have two, so. They only have two commissioners, it's been like that for,
They,
well, when we were originally negotiating with the water commissioners, there were 3 commissioners.
yeah,
Now there's only 2.
then it went down to 2, and then the third one came back on. Did someone else step down?
I don't know.
The third one's.
Last time I saw the board of commissioners, there was 2.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I
Okay,
don't
thank
know.
you. So yes, so that's the next step is where we go from there, and then from there, what the public says is where the commissioners go from there. Whether the public tells us, pay it and be done with it, or the public tells us, go to court and,
So what you're saying is if we vote no on that article, right?
we go to mediation again and then
Then
court.
what are you gonna tell us at the meeting? If we say, if somebody stands up and says, if we vote no on this, Mr. Chairman, what happens?
We
What
go
are you
to
gonna
court.
say?
We go to court and the court's gonna tell us what we're gonna pay.
How much is that gonna cost, Mr. Chairman?
No, we go to, mediation is required
Again,
before you go to court.
So if we vote that no, what
We
you're
have to go
saying,
back to
Chief, is we're
mediation.
gonna have another meeting for mediation,
mhm.
not with the public, with you guys.
Right.
One, okay. And then what happens? And then that'd be
Oh.
past the voting stage, right?
If it fails mediation again, we
Wait a
have.
second, I might be wrong on that. The agreement says, on the last paragraph.
Well, this could go on.
No, we actually have a blocked out court time in December.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh, you-
yeah,
November 28th, I think, could be.
yeah.
Be a Christmas present.
Christmas present. You need half of it.
Yeah, so,
Dispute resolution is the, oh, that's not up there?
that's only if it's approved. If it's not approved by mediation, then dispute resolution is not, that was part of the new piece.
Yeah.
So yes, if not, then we have a court window currently of November 28th through December 10th. Somewhere in there, we will end up in court and
All right, so can we just back up with that? So at the meeting, if we say no, Mr. Chairman, what happens next? You tell us what?
we're going to court.
Okay. And that is December.
November, or the last week of November, the first week of December is blocked out for fun.
So how does the budget figure out the dollar amount? If it's-
At that point, the court will say, the court finding is what it will be. So if we succeed in court with the jury and that, so very low amount, great. If the court says, sorry, I agree with them, then what they stick is what we have. Now, we have money set aside, that was pulled out last year by DRA was the one, or Prime?
The auditors.
The auditors pulled out money last year, 250,
202,000.
202,000 is on standby.
208,000.
208 is on standby last year from the auditors because of the potential lawsuit. So that money is sitting there if it had to. And the water district is drooling over that money. Go ahead, Tim.
This is right. How much have we spent in legal fees so far, and if we were to go to court,
Approximately $32,000.
In the past
there-
2 years.
is there an estimate of how much more it's gonna cost us to get to?
Court is a lot more expensive, I know that. I don't have, it depends upon how long it lasts. It's a jury trial. So there's pre-trial hearings with both sides of parties. After that, then there's jury selection, which takes a certain period of time. And then after that, you actually have the trial, which could take a certain period of time. It's going to be expensive.
Another 10 to 20 potential.
Can you find that out for October 24th?
The cost?
What's your
I
question?
don't-
An estimate of cost of what it would cost. The people need to know how much it's gonna cost to go to court.
Okay.
We need to know that.
It's less than the hydrant fee.
Well, that's
Okay.
a good point.
But we can ask our attorney to see potentially what he would think it would be.
So that,
I know, but we can ask. at
whoa,
least.
where'd that go?
Sorry.
I thought I was running the computer from everything starts to disappear. So that there is part of the agreement. It says any future, after the agreement is ratified, in the future you'll go to resolution. That does not require,
You're correct.
Not now.
that doesn't require. So can you move that up?
Page 1, scroll.
Okay.
I'll probably move it
How far up are you looking, Kevin?
No, I just wanted to see if all three commissioners signed it, because I saw a document that wasn't signed by Paul.
That's
Because
because
it
that
was
was
an
the
electronic
electronic one. That's the wet one. where
This is
all
the wet
these,
signature, it's the official.
So that's the same document?
That is the same document. Paul doesn't sign electronically.
It's not that he doesn't want.
So is there any more question? Try to answer as much as
Can
we
I
could.
make a suggestion?
Yes, please.
Can we really be very careful how this is presented to people, not as, you either vote for this or you vote for this. You
Okay.
present it as, this is what was negotiated through, mediation. If you choose not to go with this agreement, then these are the steps, and possibly if we go to court, this might be the outcome, worst case scenario. Because honestly, it's not a black or white, A or B, yes or no type of situation. And we should just be very careful how we present it to people, because right now, there's what, less than 20 of us in the room? We might get 25 at the meeting.
Yeah.
So, but that's just the hard truth of any meetings, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I personally,
I'll choose my words better.
yeah, no, I'm just cautioning you, because
Yes.
you know what, it's just, to be fair for everybody and stuff like that.
Very respected. That was a lot of good input and.
Yeah, no, I know it's not easy to do these meetings and stuff, I know. You make it glamorous,
I vote
so
for
I
Gretchen
just,
and Paul to go to mediation with you. That's what I,
I'll go to mediation.
sure, go with them.
You can take my place.
I do.
Do we have anything else?
Deputy chief for a day.
I know.
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Well,
It's a public
that's
hearing.
non-debatable, so I guess, yes. And there's a second.
We're adjourned at 8.
Vote with your feet.
Yeah. So what time is 8:17? Thank you.